So as of late, smartphones seem to be getting more and more expensive. And unfortunately, the trend seems to suggest that in order to get a premium feeling and performing device, you have to spend upwards of $800. Well, I'm pleased to report that the Pixel 4a is a breath of fresh air in this regard. In almost every sense, the Pixel 4a outperforms its competition, and in some cases, even the higher end competitors as well. This is Luke Pollock with Android Police, and today we are going to be looking at why the Pixel 4a might be the best budget smartphone for you. So I'll be breaking down this video into parts, and the corresponding timecodes are going to be in the description below, but first let's start out with the design. This year, Google is going with a very familiar hole punch display design with an insanely high 82.74% screen-to-body ratio. The back is a nice soft touch plastic that some say feels cheap, but honestly, I really like it considering that every phone nowadays seems to be the same two pieces of glass with some aluminum sandwiched in the middle. Now this year, the phone comes in only one color, just black, and it has a very light green power button on the side. Now this design is very reminiscent of the Pixel 4, featuring a camera bump that is pretty thin, but I still think it takes up too much space considering that it's only housing one camera and flash. Now that said, I still really like the simplicity, and the form factor is really great feeling in the hand, and the haptic feedback is probably one of the best in the business. Also, it features a lightning fast fingerprint sensor on the back that is very reminiscent of the Nexus line famed dimple, so that's also a plus. All in all, I think Google nailed the design of this phone, and I would love to see other manufacturers do the same. However, if you're not a fan of the plastic design, then take a look at an option from today's sponsor, Dbrand. Dbrand just announced their pastel skins, and I'm really enjoying the sunset red skin that I have. If you're someone prone to dropping your phone but still want a clean and simple design, then take a look at the Dbrand grip case and Prism screen protector, which will also be in the description below. Now, in terms of everyone's favorite topic, the specs on this phone are pretty good. The Pixel ships with a 1080p OLED display with a PPI of 444, a Snapdragon 730, 6GB of RAM, 128GB of non-expandable storage, a 3140 mAh battery, and lastly a single rear-facing camera at 12.2 megapixels and an 8 megapixel front-facing shooter as well. Now on paper, these specs may not seem like anything amazing. In fact, they're actually pretty standard. But fortunately for you, there's nothing standard about this phone. The display quite simply looks amazing. Colors are rich and blacks are deep because of that OLED panel, and the hole punch design really just makes me hate notched phones. One thing to note is that the display does support HDR and it performs pretty well also. Now the Snapdragon 730G doesn't chug at all, and because the 4a makes use of UFS storage, everything is quick and snappy. Gaming is similar with there being no noticeable lag or dips in performance, however do keep in mind that this phone will struggle with heavier titles. And I suppose another downside of these specs might be the lack of a micro SD card slot, but honestly this day and age with cloud storage, this really isn't that big of a deal. So obviously with a phone at this price point, you're going to have to sacrifice some things, and in the Pixel's case, it's wireless charging and multiple cameras. Talking about power first, the battery in this phone is a respectable 3140 mAh battery, and although there's no wireless charging, you honestly don't really need it because this phone's battery life is truly amazing. I easily got at least 6 hours of screen on time and sometimes even closer to 8. In some previous iteration of Pixels, the phone would even make it through the afternoon, but here, that's not a problem at all. And that brings us to the camera, and honestly, it's really all good here as well. The Pixel 4a shares the same sensor as the Pixel 4, and for a $350 phone, the camera processing for still images is amazing. In both ideal and low lighting conditions, the 4a produces some astounding photos. Colors are accurate, sharpness and detail are there, and while you don't get a 2x optical zoom or a wide-angle lens, honestly, in most scenarios, I didn't miss them. Because of the power of Google's software processing, digital zoom photos outperform many budget 2x cameras, and while you won't be zooming in to 50 times like some flagships, everyday photos outperform most. In fact, as you can see in direct comparisons with the iPhone 11 Pro Max, in almost every scenario, the Pixel 4a competes, if not outshines the 11 Pro. Even in portrait mode, Google has nailed the shallow depth of field effect. Now obviously it's not going to beat the iPhone in video, but I'm pleased to report that stabilization is decent and is going to do more than fine for casual recording. Lastly, in night side mode and astrophotography mode, the Pixel again performs great. I'm truly impressed with how well the single lens system works, and if you're still not convinced, here are some more examples of its amazing camera. Wrapping up, probably the best thing on this phone is the OS experience. The Pixel 4a ships with Google's highly optimized stock version of Android 10, which is now updated to Android 11, and to be frank, it just works. This truly might be one of the first times where I think that Android is more optimized than iOS. The menus are quick and smooth, and moving in between apps just operates like a breeze. Now, the menus do seem to move a bit quicker than normal, however, this can be easily altered in developer settings if you'd like. Honestly, the phone is just simply fun to use, the UI is simple and easily navigated, and everything just feels polished even down to the simplest of animations. Google really did a great job of making sure things operate smoothly on the Pixel 4a. So, is the Pixel 4a worth the buy? At $350, definitely. Because of the device's build quality, OS, battery life, and experience, the 4a ends up punching well above its weight class and easily outshines the competition. Well, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to Android Police. If you'd like to see some of my own content, feel free to check out my channel too, Technominute. But for now, this is Luke with Android Police, and I'll catch you in the next video.